Hi all, I'm Amira. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have for you a comparison of the new Pat McGrath Holiday Quad Bronze Borealis with her Voyeuristic Vixen quad. I picked this quad up when they released a couple of weeks ago, and I'll show you what it looks like here. Very pretty. I wasn't originally going to pick this up because it reminded me of two quads that she had already released, or had previously released. The first one was the Ritualistic Rose quad, which came out, I want to say holiday 2018. She came out with 3 quads that all had just 4 of her special shades. And that is what this looks like. So it first made me think of this one. And I'll put them next to each other so you can see. So this is Bronze Borealis and this is Ritualistic Rose. And as you can see, they're quite similar. Quite similar. And I was like, well, it's just like that one, except it doesn't have any special shades. But then someone else mentioned another quad, which I also own, but I just, for some reason, my brain just didn't even think of that one. And that is her quad, Voyeuristic Vixen. And this came out when she released her blushes, which I believe was this spring of this year. And that is what this is, Voyeuristic Vixen. Super pretty. I really honestly bought it because of this shade right here, which is stunning on the eye. But here is Bronze Borealis. And here is Voyeuristic Vixen. Very similar. And honestly, because of that reason, I wasn't going to pick this up. But I wanted to pick it up for anyone who was interested in purchasing this because of the fact that I wanted to do comparisons and see if it's worth your money. So this is really for science. If I didn't have a YouTube channel, I probably would have skipped this, but I just wanted to do a little comparison for you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by doing a look on this eye with the new Bronze Borealis palette. And then we're going to do a look on the other eye with Voyeuristic Vixen. I would do something with Ritualistic Rose, but quite honestly, even though these look very, very similar, like I said, Bronze Borealis has a matte in it. It has metallics. So the textures in this are very, very different. And I will do some swatches for you now with this. So let's see here. And I don't know if this has shade names. Okay, so there's one called Lunar Legend. I think this is Mink Dusk. So this is Mink Dusk. And then let's do these metallics here. And this is, let's see, I believe this is Lunar Legend. It's very flaky. Very flaky. And then we have, let's see, Sienna Rose. Just this shade here. And then finally we have Cyber Bronze. Which is this bronzy tone here. So this is the new holiday palette. This is Bronze Borealis. So let's swatch Voyeuristic Vixen beneath it and see what we get. And off the bat, I can tell you that the mattes in here are different. The matte in Bronze Borealis is very mauve toned, like a cool tone mauve purple, whereas the one in Voyeuristic Vixen is more of like a warm toned brown burgundy. So do these have, this is, I believe, After Dusk. So that's here. So this is the matte from Bronze Borealis and this is the matte from Voyeuristic Vixen. And I don't know if you can tell, in the lighting that this is more of a brown tone and that's more of a mauve tone. And then let's do this shade here, which I believe is Moonlight Liaison. Moonlight Liaison. And that's more of a champagne-y tone. This one is more pinky. It's more champagne-y. And then let's do the shade, the star of the show when it comes to this quad, which is Rose Fire Nectar. And I think honestly this is why everyone bought this quad. It was this shade right here. And I don't know if the lighting is gonna, if you can see that shift, but it's like pink and then it's bronze. It's a beautiful shade. It's very flaky, very impactful on the eye. I've used this just on its own, just that shade, and it's so pretty. And then the last shade in the palette, which is Twilight Bronze, which is this shade here, and it's a very pale bronzy tone. This tone here, this shade from Bronze Borealis, is far more golden. So if you can see that there. But I still want to do looks with both of them because I feel like you can still get very similar vibes from both. I will say if you have, if you do not have Voyeuristic Vixen, it was a limited edition quad. I believe it was. I don't think it's still on her website. I'll double check, and if it is, I'll leave a link to it down below. But I believe that that was meant to be a limited edition palette. So I'm going to start, like I said, with Bronze Borealis on this eye, and I'm going to go in with the matte shade. Oh, let me pull the little sticker off. Whoop. It's very satisfying. And if you do not use Pat McGrath palettes, you may not know how pigmented her mattes can be. So one thing I will say is that you can use these and really build them up. And make them quite deep. And I'll zoom you guys in just a little bit more so you can see. And I'm using quite a small brush. I do have fallout, but honestly, I always have fallout when I use Pat McGrath palettes. So I'm used to that. So this is the, let's take my powder brush and just see if I can, and then I'm going to take my little concealer. There we go. So this is the matte shade in, I still have, this is after wiping my hands, by the way. This is how like pigmented and intense Pat McGrath shadows can be. But this is the matte shade in the Bronze Borealis palette, and it's again the only matte. So I feel like if you are of a lighter skin tone than me, this might be kind of intense and you might need to dip into another palette to get something a bit lighter to blend out. Like, I'm just using this palette today. I'm a firm believer and I will use multiple palettes to achieve a desired result. So that's not a big issue for me, but if that's an issue for you, there is only one and it is quite intense. So something to think about. I'm going to use her Eyes to Intensify. I used this in a video last week for the first time, and I'm going to use it again just to put it here. And I think I'm going to go in with this bronzy purpley, well, not purpley, more like rosy. And I still have a little bit of fallout just from doing that. I'm just gonna put this here. Very pretty. I'm now gonna flip the brush over and I'm gonna use, I think I'm gonna use this golden tone, a slightly darker tone, which I think is Cyber Bronze. Take a little bit more of that, just to put them together. And then I'm going to go back in with the matte just to blend the edges out a bit. So as you can see just from this little bit is that it's a very soft look. I don't think you're going to get, unless you take the golds and you just like pile them on all on the eye, you're not going to get a super intense vibe from this quad. I'm going to take, what do I want to use? I'm going to take this brush here, which is a Sonia G Pencil Pro, and we're going to take the matte underneath and just really blend that underneath and connect. And then I'm going to take the Intensivize again, and I'm going to put it under here. Again, like I said in my last time I used this, is that I feel like it lifts product up, whatever you're laying it over, but I'm not too concerned about that, only because I'm covering this up anyway. But I'm going to take this, and I'm going to also put it in the inner corner. And kind of bridge it with the other tone. And then I'm going to take that matte again. And I'm just using the same brush for this. I'm not picking anything else up. All right. So this is the finished look. I'm not going to put mascara on yet. I'm going to do the other eye and then I'll put mascara on both. So now let's go into Voyeuristic Vixen. And I feel like I have shimmer all in my eye, which I probably do. And I still have fallout. Let's do about that. There we go. That's better. Okay. And I'm going to zoom in just a bit more so you guys can see what that looks like. It's pretty, you know? It's not like rocking my world, but it's pretty. All right. Using my little Sonia G microfiber thingy that needs to be cleaned desperately. And I'm just going to do that because I want to make sure that I'm getting the same amount of intensity. Now, this is a very different shade when you swatch it. And it's very pigmented. Look at that. And I'm using a very small brush, so it's going to be very intense. But do I want to do the exact same look on this eye? No. I'll do very similar, but I feel like with this shade, because it's so dark, I don't know if I'll like the way that looks. There is another quad that was released with her holiday collection for 2021 that is very, very similar to another quad that she released last year for her holiday collection. And I will be doing a comparison of those two as well in an upcoming video for you guys, because I picked them both up. It's both for science. I was not originally going to get them at all. I was just like, that looks too much like two of the palettes that I already own. And I'm thinking that maybe her logic is that she wants to maybe make those shades available for people who missed out on last year's, but also switch it up a little bit. I don't know if it's been switched up enough, in my opinion, but let's see. So I'm going to use the Worker Pro from the Sky set from Sonia G, and I'm going to use my Intensive Eyes again. I'll use the mirror for this so I can really get in there and see what I'm doing. Okay. It's smeared on there. And now we're going to go in with, let me look up the shades again, good Lord. Actually, I think I'm going to just go in with Rose Fire Nectar, because that's what I would do in real life. You know, like if I was not on camera, I would just take the shade and slather it all over. Oh, this is so flaky. Oh, this makes me wish I would use glitter glue. The Intensive Eyes is nice. I just don't know if it can do what I need it to do as far as making sure this stays on the lid and not all over my face. You know? Take a little bit more of the brown just to blend that. And I would normally have added something here, but the two shades that are in this palette, mess everywhere, these two lighter shades wouldn't really work here. I wouldn't put something that light right there. I tend to like to go deep light because I think that works for my eye shape. And I just think it's more aesthetically pleasing to look at. Yeah. When I'm doing like a less experimental vibe. Now on my IG, I tend to do more, it's where I kind of like experiment and really like do wild and crazy looks. So if you're interested in that, and I'm taking the brown underneath, please follow me on IG. I will leave my handle down in the description box. Come on over, hang out with me while I do crazy liner looks. And it's just kind of where I kind of think of IG as like a fun place to experiment, test things out. All right. And to like grow my skill set. I've learned so much just from IG as far as makeup goes. All right, I'm putting this there. And I'm going to take this brush again. Again, I've cleaned this off with my microfiber. And I'm going to take this shade. These are all so flaky, it's kind of ridiculous. And I probably should have used a smaller brush for this, but yeah. Then I'm going to take this lighter shade and I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to take just a smidge more, oh, wrong brush, of Rose Fire Nectar. It's like right there. All right. Fallout City. That's one thing I will say, if you are not a fan of like cleaning up glitter, do your eyes first if you're using McGrath. I did my face first, and that was just because I was doing this video. And I just kind of want to get the face makeup out of the way. But if you are doing your makeup on your own, alone at home, I would say do your eyes first. then do your face makeup, because trust me, you'll thank me. You'll thank me. Okay, so I am back. I put some mascara on, and this is the finish look. Yeah. So, final thoughts. I think this is an okay palette. I don't think it's a bad palette. It's got Pat McGrath's formula. It's a good formula. I just feel that it is not a necessary palette. I feel like if you own Ritualistic Rose, if you own Voyeuristic Vixen, I think there was another quad that I skipped out on that is like a Divine Rose quad. I forget what the name of it was, but it was a limited edition quad. If you have that quad, I don't think you need this quad. I don't think this is meant for the Pat McGrath connoisseur. I don't. I think this is a palette for people who have maybe never tried Pat McGrath before and they want to try her formula. And just like the full-size holiday palette, I think that palette is for Pat McGrath newbies. I don't necessarily think it is for people like myself or like yourself if you are a Pat McGrath connoisseur who, you know, own a bunch of her motherships and her, you know, who owned the quads from her first, when she first released the quads in 2018. She had 3 quads that she released for holiday 2018 that featured all of her special shades. I own all of those. They're beautiful. I think they're worth the money. Again, my suspicion with Ritualistic Rose, or just in general with her quads, is that I feel like she took a step back from putting the special shades in quads because of the cost. I think even though those may have sold well, I don't necessarily know or think that they maybe made back the money that it cost to manufacture them and to create them. So because she hasn't done it since, and that was holiday 2018, and we have yet to get a, you know, a collection of quads that have a bunch of special shades in them. I have a sneaking suspicion that we will only see those shades in her full-size motherships because of the price point and the cost of making them. I'm sure, you know, her formulas, you know, well, the special shades are formulated in Italy, and I'm sure that that costs a ton of money. So I don't think that she's, you know, thinking that that's maybe the smartest move for the brand itself. And one thing I also noticed that, and this is so dirty now, wow, is how small the pans are in comparison. So this is Bronze Borealis and this is Voyeuristic Vixen. And as you can see, the pans are much smaller. There's much more dead space in this one than there is in this one. So I'm just getting the feeling from these palettes, just like I got from the full-size holiday palette, that she is definitely trying to create new customers. You know, people who will try those products, or these products rather, and will be so intrigued that they will want to spend the money on a full-size mothership, which is smart, and I get it. I will say I don't think you need this palette if you are a Pat McGrath collector, connoisseur, you know, enthusiast. I think this is a skippable palette. So again, I think it's beautiful. I love the look that I came up, that, you know, that I created with it, but it's not a wow look. It's a look that I feel like I could actually dip into other mothership palettes that I own and get this look. Like, this is a look that I could probably get with Divine Rose 1 easily. Easily. It's not, the colors aren't unique enough where you would be able to get a huge difference from the two at all. Like, I feel like that matte shade in this palette is sort of like a slightly deeper toned version of Veloria, which is the matte mauve shade that is in the Divine Rose 1 palette. So again, like, if you own a lot of Pat McGrath, I think you can skip out on this. I don't think it's a must-have. I am a firm believer, especially now, well, my feelings about spending money on makeup are slowly evolving. I feel like it's better to spend the money on the special thing than to spend less on the less special thing. It's more of an investment, yes, but I think that it's something that you'll get more enjoyment out of. That's my philosophy. I save up to get the thing that's special and unique and that you will cherish and love, and skip out on the less special things. And for me, this is a less special palette, if that makes sense. It's a beautiful palette. There's nothing wrong with the formula, but it is a less special palette in the lexicon of Pat McGrath. It is a less special palette. So those are my thoughts on this. I will use this again. Of course, this was just a, a first impression comparison demo. But just based off of what I know about Pat McGrath and what I know about her quads, I think it's a skippable palette. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you own Bronze Borealis? Is it on your wish list? Have your thoughts about it changed since you've watched reviews? Let me know in the comments. Also, be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.